Hi, my name is Lael McDill. I'm the maker of Silly Millies, slice and bake millifiore canes that you can find at claysquared.com. And today I'm going to show you how to make a really fun, cute little snail. So, the materials you'll need are at least one large Silly Millie. So this one is the one I'm going to use. It's a little iris. You can also use other animals and things, like maybe you could do a fish. Now this is a small, but you could use two smalls if you wanted to. Or designs are also really fun. I've got lots of designs on my website. Or maybe even like a cat face. You can do it with anything you want to. So we'll use at least one large, and we're going to also need some scrap clay. I like using Primo brand clay. You could use just solid clay. All you'll need is a half of a container, which is 1 ounce of clay. I like also to use just my scrap clay rather than actually using the solid colored clay. So that's what I'm going to use for this project. And I've got approximately 1 ounce there. So the first thing you'll do is you'll take your Silly Millie. If it's a large size, you're going to want to roll it out to be smaller in diameter like this. So when I do that, I just go like this and gradually roll it until it's all the way down to about what I would consider the small size. And now I'm going to make my shell. So the shell is going to have in the inside just either scrap colored clay or a solid color, whichever one you want to do. You're going to want to kind of get that warmed up. You want to make sure it's conditioned. This is nice and soft. If it's not soft, it will give you a lot of trouble. So you're going to make a worm that's tapered. So it's about 4 inches long or so, and then roll the one end smaller and smaller and smaller so you get this little point going on. So now it's probably about 7 or 8 inches maybe. And then I'm going to make lots of slices from my Silly Millie. And I might also want to do some different sizes. I'm going to do some at this size, and then I'm not really worrying too much about exactly how thick they are. I've made myself a little pile there. Now I'm going to roll this a little smaller, make some of them a little bit different sizes. You can see how easy it is to make your Silly Millie smaller and smaller. So I'm just going to keep slicing away until I have a whole pile of slices. You might want to slice as you go or make your whole pile of slices. Depends on what you want to do. And you're going to take these slices and add them all around your little scrap colored clay. And I just do it kind of randomly. If you want, you could make, a whole design if you wanted to use 2 or 3 different Silly Millies. I'm just sort of laying them on here and not worrying too much about the colors showing through. A lot of that will disappear. But if it does show a little bit, that's okay. Just add another extra color. So I'm going to keep sticking them all in there. And as you can see, I'm just letting them be sort of this way and that way. Of course, you could always be more organized. Everybody does things differently depending on their style. Until your little worm is pretty much covered. Getting down to the end. And let's see, looks like I need a few more slices. So I'll just cut those up. And add them on. This little snail could be really fun as an ornament or as a decoration in a plant, or just something fun to sit on a desk. You can do in lots of different ways, so I'll show you how that works. So now I've got my lumpy bumpy little elongated worm. So I'm going to roll that and get it smooth. So I'm gradually rolling it out. I don't want it to get too long, so I kind of go like this every once in a while to make sure it doesn't get too long. But I'm smoothing it, so it will grow. I can't hardly avoid that, but it'll start getting smoother. So sometimes I'm going to go back like that. Make sure it doesn't get too long. It's fairly smooth. And I've got a little bit of this sticking out the end. I'm just going to pull that off so I don't have to worry about it. So now I'm going to roll it up like a snail. I might want to consider which part I want to show the most and which part I don't want to show. Looks like I've got a whole bunch of my inside colors showing there. So I'll kind of line those inside color parts up so that they won't show. And if they're facing up at me, then they won't show. So I'm going to pinch the end and just roll it up like a snail shell. And all the way until you get just about to the end. And that end part you're going to flatten like this. Now I have some of that inside part showing right there, and if I don't want that, I'm just going to put that like that. So I'm flattening it, and then I'm going to curve it because that's where the body is going to go. So that's a little spot for the snail body to stick. To make the snail body, I really recommend swirling together colors because I just like more color. But of course you could just use a solid color. These scraps are just kind of leftovers. And you can see how I'm twisting it and you get that really pretty striping effect. I'm going to do that for a while and then I'll smooth it out a little bit. And let's see. It looks like I might have a little more than I need. You can try it on and see. Well, it could be a really big snail. Or I could make it shorter, which I think I'll just cut off a little on the end. And now, I'm going to just set that in there, and I'm going to squish the head to whatever shape I want to. Just going to sort of round it a little bit. And then I'm going to use a toothpick to make the smile, and just kind of by pressing in like that, right around. This is where, when you just kind of play with it, you try to figure out what it's going to look like. You get different expressions every time depending on exactly where you poke it. So I've sort of got a little dent, and I'm going to squish that a little bit on the nose and pat it down just a little. Now he's ready for his eyes. Luckily I had a little bit of this left over. That'll be perfect. So I'll take that and roll it into a little thing like this. And it's got two little worms right there. And I'm going to kind of taper it again, maybe making it a little bit fatter on that end, and maybe flattening it a little bit. I can stick that right on there, just like that. Sometimes if I'm making a bigger snail, I will put a little armature, a little wire in that part, but this guy will be fine with just this. And now I'm going to put the other one on there. Now, all he needs is eyes. So I've got this eye that I just made. I'm going to make it a little smaller. You can learn how to make an eye by watching my video about how to make eyeballs. And I'm just going to slice two little slices off of that and set them right on there. And he really comes alive when he gets his little eyes. And now is where you get to decide if you want it to be something that just sort of sets, or if you want it to have a hole in it so it can turn into an ornament. I'm going to do that. I'm going to poke a hole with a toothpick right through one side and then the other. And now he's ready to bake. But of course, see how kind of wobbly he is? I think the best way to bake him is to lay him down like this. And if he needs to have, if I want to make sure his eyes stick in a certain way, I need to prop that with something like just a little bit of tissue paper and then bake it like that. Well, let me show you if you want to make yours into a little ornament. Once it comes out of the oven, you can take a piece of wire, maybe about 4 or 5 inches long, and poke it through. And I use just a little needle nose plier to make a little notch right like that, and turn it this way so it goes through like that, and then bring it up to the top. Do another little notch, and then just a sort of a swirl like that. And that will make a cute little snail ornament. So I hope you have fun.